Hi, and welcome to Challenge 7, the last part of our Making Your Own Paddleball game in Scratch workshop. So today we're going to look at how to make it so we have lives for the player that can be lost and cause an end game once they're all run out. First of all, as we did with the score and the speed, we will need to add a new variable. So we'll go down to the variables, make a variable. This one we'll call lives. Nice and simple. At the moment, I'll just leave it so we can see it on there as a number below the score. And now we need to tell it how to change that number and to make sure that the player can't change it. So we're going to go into the ball because the lives are related directly to that. We're going to start a new script from the very beginning of the game. So when the flag is clicked. And in that script, we're going to have to set our new variable. So how many lives do we want to give to the player? Now, I think a good starting point we'll work with is 3 for this. So we've set the number of lives to 3 for the start of the game. Then throughout the game, so that means we need a forever loop because we're going throughout the whole game. We need to have it so at the moment, if we put in an if statement, we want that. We want it to change the value of the lives. Now, the issue is if what? We want it so if the ball misses the paddle and hits the bottom of the screen, we lose a life. But how can we do that? You cannot separate one edge from the others. At the moment, the ball just bounces off all the edges. So we need to come up with a way to make this so it can detect when it's in the wrong area. To do this, we can grab a sprite, see if I can get a useful sprite for this. What we want is this one here, line. Now this is produced as a nice line here, which we can put across the bottom of our screen. Okay, it needs to go underneath the paddle. There we go, we now have this bar here. You can change the colour of the bar as you like. So if we go into the costume of the bar, there we go. We can change it. So I want to make it so it's a nice easy one to mimic. So I've got it at all the extremes. So 0, 100, 100. And now we don't need any script in there. That's just a marker for us. But we can now put in here sensing. So we can do it so if touching a certain colour, it will do this. So we need to set that colour. Now this is why I said I chose one where it had easy numbers. There we go. So I've chosen the red bar. Now depending on the background that you may want to put onto your game, you'll need to consider this has to be a unique colour that is only present here, or else you'll end up losing lives every time you touch something of the same colour. The other thing we need to do is this. We actually need to put in a little wait command. There we go, wait for so many seconds. I'm actually going to set this to 0.1. Now the reason I've done this is I've told it that when it's touching the red, it has to wait 0.1 seconds before changing the lives. Now why would I need to do that? That is because if it was just touching the red, it would just keep going. Whereas by making it pause, when that bounces out, then it loses the life, meaning it's no longer touching. If you're not quite sure what I mean by that, give it a go without the wait and see what happens. Okay, so let me test this little bit of script here. We've got the lives written on the screen here. So what we shall do is we shall put the ball into a starting place, press play, set a speed, have it bounce, hit the bottom. Oh, wait a moment, the lives are going up. That's not right, is it? So let's just stop that. Get it all reset. Go back and see what did wrong. There we go. Change lives by 1. It's adding 1 every time. What we need it to do is to take away 1. So we do a -1. There we go. So let's put the ball and the paddle back, give it one more run and see if this works. Choose a speed, space bar. There we go. There we go. Now we can see the lives are going down. And they reach 0, and then they go to -1, -2. Okay, so we know the score's working, and when it touches the red, it loses a single life. But it's not stopping when it hits 0, it just keeps going down. So we need to correct this now. To do that, we need to incorporate a when lives are equal to 0, the game ends. But we haven't got a lives, we haven't got a sort of sprite for lives that we can attach that script to. So what we're going to do is we're going to create one more sprite for this game. It's going to be the same as the first one, so the ball. Which one's that one? There we go. Now, for this, first of all, I'm going to go into the costume for this ball. I'm actually going to shrink it down a bit. That's a bit too far. I want it to fit in this corner here quite nicely. So there we go. I'm going to call that costume lives 1. Okay. So now we've got a costume here called lives 1. I'm going to duplicate it twice. So we've got lives 1, lives 2, lives 3. So we want the sprite, the image, to show how many lives there are. So lives 1 shows when you only have 1 life left. Lives 2, when you have 2 lives left. And lives 3, give me a moment, will then show when we have 3 lives left. Obviously, you can play around and make it so it's all nicely balanced. There we go. You can see it on the screen whilst you're playing. So let us go into this script here. So this script here now is going to show us how many lives the player has left. And it will give us the place that we can put that stop all for the game in once the lives hit 0. To do this, what we need is to find our start, which is when the flag is clicked, when we activate the program. We need to tell it which costume we want it to wear for the live symbol. Let's see if I can find it. I want looks. Here we go. So we want to switch the costume to lives equals 3 for the start of the game. We want it to show this sprite. Okay, so we want it on the screen from the moment the program starts. We then need to get it to change costume each time the lives go down. So this shows how many lives are left. To do this, we go back into the looks and we go to switch costume and we can set it to lives 2. We can grab another one and set it to lives 1. There we go. So we've got the costume switches. But when does it need to switch costumes? Well, what we need is for it to wait until a certain thing happens. What is this thing that we need to have happen? So we've got the waits in and the switches in. Well, what we need to wait for is for something to equal something. So we go into the operators and we get the box that something equals something. And then we get our lives variable for each of those. So we want it, so when lives equal 2, we get the costume for 2 lives. When lives equal 1, we get a costume for lives 1. But what about when we get to 0? We haven't got a lives equals 0 costume. So instead, what we need to do is we need to go back to that wait until again and put the operator of something equals something. There we go. Put in the lives again. Sorted. Change it to 0. When that happens, we want it to hide all lives because there's none left. There are none left. And as I said, we end this script then with it stops all. Like we did with when you've completely moved all the blocks. We want to stop the entire game. In this case, we want to stop the entire game because they've run out of lives. So there we go. That then should work. We now, if I reset the screen up here, we now have 3 lives showing in the bottom left corner of the screen, but we also have it showing in the top left corner of the screen. So we don't need both of those. So we'll take the tick off the lives variable and make it vanish. And then we test it. So let's see, let's get the ball speed sorted. Press spacebar, 1 life down, 2 lives down. Perfect, game over. Then there you have it. We now have a game that can allow you to win through demolishing all the blocks or lose by losing all your lives. It is now completely up to you what you wish to do with this program. We have got some advice in the next section on the webpage about how to add finishing touches like a background or how many blocks you have, resizing, and a few other ideas in there too. So please check out the website, get some more ideas, build on this, share it online through the Scratch Share account, and have fun. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your new game.